Have you ever caught yourself thinking and then wondered who's actually doing the thinking? By the end of this episode, you'll understand how mastering that inner observer, the mind behind the mind, can radically change how you learn, decide and live your life. Because what if your greatest breakthroughs don't come from thinking harder, but from watching yourself think? Picture this then. So you're sitting in a quiet lab at Stanford University. In front of you a table, a puzzle and a small timer. The researcher gives you simple instructions. Solve the puzzle as quickly as you can, but before you begin, tell us how confident are you that you'll solve it. Half the participants jump straight in. The other half pause, reflect and evaluate their strategy before touching a single piece. The result? The ones who paused, who took a moment to think about how they think, finished faster, making fewer mistakes and remembered the process better later on. That single pause, the moment of meta-thinking, became their edge. That's metacognition in action, the awareness of your own mental process. It's like switching from being the actor on stage to the director in the audience, watching the whole play unfold. Imagine your mind as a vast landscape, hills of emotion, valleys of memory, rivers of thought. Most people wander through it aimlessly, don't they? They get lost in the fog of impulse, distraction and emotion. But metacognition gives you a map and a compass. It lets you step back, zoom out and say, I'm overthinking this. That fear isn't truth, it's just noise. This pattern keeps repeating. Maybe I need a new approach. When you're metacognitive, your thoughts no longer control you. You navigate them. Let's bring it close to home. You're sitting in an exam room. You flip the first page and your mind goes blank. Heart racing. You've studied for weeks. You know the material, but your thoughts spiral. What if I fail? What if I freeze? What if I can't remember everything I've revised? Now pause. Just take a breath and say to yourself, okay, I'm panicking right now. That's fine. My brain's in threat mode. Let's slow down. That moment when you recognise what's happening instead of being consumed by it, that's pure metacognition. You've shifted from reacting to observing, and that shift changes everything. It calms your nervous system. It reactivates the prefrontal cortex and the part of your brain that handles reasoning and focus, and suddenly clarity returns. You didn't need more knowledge, you just needed meta-awareness. In neuroscience terms, metacognition is powered by the prefrontal cortex, the brain's control tower. It monitors what happens in other regions, the limbic system, which is your emotions, the hippocampus, your memories, and the visual and auditory centres, your sensory inputs. It's like a conductor managing a chaotic orchestra, ensuring the violins of emotion don't drown out the drums of reason. Research shows that people with stronger metacognitive skills not only learn faster, but they retain knowledge longer, make better decisions and adapt more quickly to change. It's not intelligence that separates the great from average, it's awareness of how they use that intelligence. When an athlete steps into an arena, metacognition decides the outcome long before the first strike. They're not just fighting their opponent, they're monitoring their own mindset. Am I hesitating? Am I burning too much energy too early? Where's my focus drifting? What's catching me out at the minute? Where's his weakness? Champions don't just act, they observe themselves acting. In high-pressure meetings, great leaders don't always speak first. They watch their own bias, question their assumptions and listen with awareness. Their mega-cognitive relationship, knowing when your ego is trying to take the wheel, that's that in a nutshell. When you catch yourself checking your phone out of boredom and you stop to ask, don't you? Why am I doing that? What am I actually looking for right now? Shouldn't I be focusing on the task at hand? That's metacognition too. You're catching the unconscious in the act. So try right now. Close your eyes and listen to your thoughts for 10 seconds. You'll probably notice things such as, this is a bit weird. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Thinking about the fact that you need to clean the car. Or asking yourself, what am I supposed to be thinking about? But here's the question. Who's listening? Who's noticing the thought? That silent awareness behind the chatter. That's you, the observer. That's metacognition, the ability to watch your own mind without getting pulled into it. When you strengthen that muscle, you gain psychological distance. You stop identifying with every emotion and instead evaluate it. You become the scientist of your own consciousness. So how do you develop metacognition? Here's a few powerful methods. So just reflect. What worked? What didn't? What would I do differently next time? The post-action review rewires your brain for adaptive learning. Whether you think about it or write it down or whichever way you want to do it. When faced with a problem, pretend it's happening to your best friend, and that's the Solomon's paradox, as we talked about before. What advice would you give them? It's one of the fastest ways to access metacognitive clarity. So throughout the day, stop and ask, why am I doing this? Why am I worried? Should I be planning? Should I be doing this? And just noticing this trains the prefrontal cortex to take the driver's seat. Because think of your life like an aircraft in flight. Most people live in autopilot mode, reacting, rushing, repeating. Metacognition is when you step into the cockpit. You start checking the gauges, fuel, energy, altitude, perspective, speed, pace, turbulence, stress. Without it, you crash from exhaustion or get lost in fog. With it, you adjust midair. You course correct before disaster strikes. And that's the difference between drifting through life and redesigning it. Because metacognition isn't just about making you a better thinker. It's about making you free. Because when you can watch your emotions without being owned by them, when you can observe your fears instead of obeying them, you become untouchable. You're no longer a prisoner of habit. You become the architect of your own responses, deliberate, aware, and in control. That's real mastery. Not the control of the world around you, but the world within you. So next time you catch yourself overthinking, judging, reacting, pause, step back, watch the watcher. Ask yourself, what is my mind doing right now? Is it helping me or hurting me? What would my higher self say in this moment? That's where wisdom begins. That's the birth of transformation, because life doesn't just change when you think differently. It changes when you become aware that you're thinking at all.